Hey everyone, Pointy End here. Today we're going to be talking about utility knives, which I think is an often overlooked piece of EDC kit, and especially for people that are as obsessed with knives and EDC gear as I am, something we don't really think about too much. With that, I kind of had this epiphany a few months ago where 90% of the tasks that I was doing around the house, in the garage, I found myself carrying around a Craftsman box cutter with me. And why was I doing that? To kind of, I guess, out of laziness in a way. I found that my other knives that I had, if I had a box to cut, my wife and I had just had our first child. So between the baby registry, all these boxes coming in, I mean, there was no way that I was going to be using something like this to open box after box, then have to sharpen it. Again, like people will say, you have these nice knives, why not use them? And that's not to say that I don't. Kind of my rebuttal to that claim of, you have these nice knives, why don't you use them, would be, I do have a Chris Reeve Professional Soldier. Now, this knife, in my last job, I was on the counterterrorism team for 4 years. This was a part of my kit, and they don't make these anymore, but I think it was about $300 at the time. You can see all the wear on it. I've lost it several times. It was in salt water a ton under that 550 cord. It's beat up. I do use my stuff, but there's a time and a place. So this video, like my last one, I'm going to break it up into pros and cons, and the utility knife we're going to be looking at today is the Rexford Knives Rut. And this thing, it is really pricey. This is the Aught Design version. A normal Rexford Rut will run you about $130 to $150. This one's closer to the 200 range. I know there's a lot of videos out there, kind of hating on people that buy these, being like, oh, it's just a box cutter, why don't you just use a normal utility one? I realize this one's excessive, but with that I looked on Amazon, and starting at $9 all the way up to this one, there's a lot out there, and I think it's an important part of anyone's EDC kit. All right, the first pro for carrying a utility knife for EDC is the replaceable blades, obviously, right? So I picked these up at Ace Hardware. A package of them was, I think it was $3.99. You get 5 of them. They're replaceable blades, right? So once one side gets dull, I'll pull this out, flip it over, and then discard it. I do realize there's a market out there, and a lot of, Instagram influencers, etc., will buy, Thai Mascus, whatever, blah, 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 all that stuff. I don't do that for mine. Like, I just like a normal steel blade. It's sharp. When it gets dull, pull it out, put it in the other side, and, keep on cutting. Another pro for the utility knife type design, especially one that's like this, kind of slim, is for people who travel, right? So I'm still really sore about this, and it kind of actually prompted me to get back into knives, kind of where I'm at today. But I had this beautiful zero tolerance 0561, so again, a Hinder edition, zero tolerance. They don't make it anymore. I flew to Virginia from California, got to my, I put it in my check bag, got to my destination, had a note in there from the TSA saying that they did some screening on it, and lo and behold, that knife is gone. So the beautiful thing about this is, for people who are traveling a lot, again, it's as easy as having something like this on your keyring. If I'm going to travel, I can pull this out. I can literally put this box of razors in my carry-on, or I'm sorry, in my check bag. If that goes missing, no drama. I'll just go buy another one, or at the very least, I'm not out a $300 knife, and this can sit on my keyring the entire time. I also know that there'll be a little bit of pushback with that, the idea of carrying one of these in lieu of a pocket knife. And, it's not to say you can't carry around a cheaper, $20 knife with you when you travel. But again, it's a matter of principle. I like the bling factor of this Tad Rexford. And like, once I pull this blade out, it's super innocuous. It's basically a bottle opener. No drama there. I do think the real beauty of carrying something like this is just that, as much as I try to lie to myself, 90% of the tasks I do on a day-to-day basis you know, having this amount of blade serves its purpose. I cut a lot of boxes, I do a lot of camping, stuff like that, for which I you know, can easily carry one of my fixed blades or my folders, but 90% of the time, this thing's meeting the mail, and I really appreciate that, right? I mean, it's very ornate looking. Again, the one that I got is a little bit ostentatious, a little bit over the top. You got the, you know, the topo map there, which is, you know, indicative of the TAD version of this Rexford. But at the end of the day, I like the little bling that's on there. But in the inside, I just have a run-of-the-mill, you know, 25-cent razor blade in there. When it gets dull, I throw it out and move on. Now that we've covered the pros of you know, carrying a utility knife in your EDC, I do want to get go over a few of the cons of it. As we pointed out, you know, you're kind of limited for this razor blade, which are like Irwin's, by 2 positions. You can get one that is a 3-position razor blade, but again, you're limited to about 3/4 of an inch of blade, 1 inch if you get the you know, the 3-position one. This is an expensive piece, as I said, but again, I didn't really care about it. Again, I'm not I'm not missing, you know, a mortgage payment to pay for this. It was a decision that I made based on, you know, my, not infatuation, but I'm a huge fan of Aught Design, and, you know, the time was right for me to purchase that. All that being said, it's still not a full-size blade, right? I mean, having a full-size blade, there's definitely a time and a place, more oftentimes than not. So you know, that is a limiting factor there. But again, I'm just kind of looking at the bell curve, and, you know, 90% of the time, this is covering exactly what my intentions are, or the jobs that I have on a daily basis with something like that Gerber. The next con for carrying a utility knife, and I know you can get different sizes on Amazon, but as far as the Rexford one goes, like, this thing is tiny. I actually ended up attaching this 550 paracord, so again, I can't use this like oxygen wrench or whatever, which I would never use anyways. There is a mini pry bar there, if you can see it. You can also use it as a flathead screwdriver, and then a bottle opener, which I guess is, you know, always nice to have, but this thing is small. When it is in your pocket, if you don't have some sort of lanyard, I would definitely be nervous about losing it. I kind of like the length of the one that I have, because I feel like I can kind of get my, you know, pinky around the back end of it to give me a little bit more support there when I'm actually using it. But again, the main reason for this lanyard is just so that it gives it a little more real estate when it's in my pocket, so I can actually feel that it's there. The other con that I wanted to bring up with carrying something like this, especially the Rexford Rut, is the fact that, you know, on this utility knife it says Rexford Knives Rut, and I have heard of people that have kind of pushed back, being like, oh, that's great, you can get it through TSA, but it says Rexford Rut Knives. Kind of wish it didn't say knives on it. It kind of implies that this is a knife, but again, as we've pointed out before, you know, once you take the blade out, it is no longer you know, a scary object. So that'd be my one critique for this, is, you know, maybe maybe not write knives on it, but again, that's the brand, that's the model of it, so I totally get it. All right, the last con that I have for this utility knife in general is definitely the fact that there's no consistent way to open this with one hand. It's not a huge deal, but I mean, unless you're using gravity to your advantage and you have some good luck, you really do need 2 hands to deploy this, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, I'd like nothing less than for, you know, a razor blade to be open in my pocket, but along the same lines, you do have to depress this button, pull it out to the desired length, wait for a click. Same thing, pushing it back in, depress this, push it in, and then you're good to go. So that's the same thing with closing too, right? So I could open it like this, I could try to close it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but, you know, you really want to have 2 hands on it to ensure that this utility blade is not going to deploy when you don't want it to. All right, that's pretty much it for my you know, review / discussion on the Rexford Rut. Again, I think if you have the money and can, you know, find one for a reasonable price, definitely do it. These are still in stock at Aught Design's website. I would just kind of caution you from staying away from eBay. A lot of times people, even though these are in stock, people might not realize it. They end up paying $50, $75, $100 more than MSRP for this knife just because they figure it is exclusive. So definitely check that out. And I can't stress enough, a lot of these knives that I find, I belong to Facebook groups that, you know, you get similar enthusiasts for whatever the knife company is, etc. There's really good deals to be had on this type of stuff. But at the end of the day, again, starting at $9, you can pick up one of these at, on Amazon. You can go to Ace Hardware. They have their own offerings of these. But I really do think for the knife collector, the enthusiast, having a utility knife that kind of fits into your EDC arsenal is a really good way to go. And with that, definitely concluding this video, but I kind of want to get, your thoughts on it. What, would this fit into your EDC arsenal, having a utility blade for 90% of the tasks? Or are you a purist that says, I have a Chris Reeve, I'm going to use it because that's what it was made for, etc. I guess maybe I'm a little curious if I'm just lazy or whatever, but, the idea of opening 4 Amazon boxes and then, having OCD like I do, being like, oh man, I gotta, get out the wicked edge and clean this thing up. I would much rather, and I really do appreciate the idea of just having a utility blade that I can throw out once it gets dull. So please feel free to leave your comments below. And again, I'm gonna try to make more videos here in the future, just kind of my little observations after EDCing, my knives, what works, what doesn't, as well as I'll be getting into some watches later on. Huge watch guy as well. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.